Check these old dinosaurs out. What we got here is a pair of 1967 Pontiac number 670 heads. Pretty rare casting. These come off a 1967 RAM AIR 400 Pontiac engine. Like what you would find in GTOs and Firebirds. These were on a 455 Pontiac drag engine back in the day, decades ago. They've been on a shelf for 30 something years. These are kind of unusual heads. If you're into rare old muscle car era shit. 67 heads. In 66, Pontiac was still using a 389. GTOs and big cars and shit. But yeah, funny bore, non-standard ring size. It was like a 4.094 bore or some shit. So 67, they bored it out to a 400, 4.125 bore, 3.75 stroke. It made it, the ring availability and shit was easier, cheaper. They cast a different block. So 67 is far from modern, but it was the first year of your newer type Pontiac engine. These heads were like a fucking crossover head from the old to the newer style. They had closed chambers where most all your, like, these are 1968 number 16s. These are 390 horse 428 heads. What they come stock on. 1968. And they had an open chamber. Good thing about Pontiacs, they had fully machined fucking chambers and shit stock. And they had 211 177 exhaust valves. That's a 72cc chamber. So it's high compression. These heads have had some slight port work done on them. Pretty good rare pieces. Exhaust been opened up. They've been bowl ported and shit. Intake's been slightly port matched. That's your 68 heads. That's what the chambers look like. Had this big, that would be your, well, they would call it an open chamber. Closed chamber is just a fucking bathtub shape. These here, they were closed chambered heads, but they were 67. And they were the first year they used a 211 177 valves. There were some prehistoric Moroso valve covers for a Pontiac. You don't see them every day. I've had them forever. Been stashed away forever. You got your 1980 Crane Gold roller rockers. Believe it or not, them things probably don't have 500 miles on them. But they've been sitting for a long fucking time. 455, these heads were on, ran low 11s in the quarter. About $1.22 mile per hour. These fucking chambers on these things. That's what I'm talking about, the shape of the chamber there. They're just fucking, there's no open, it's just a bathtub shape. They were also rated at 72 cc. You'd think they would be smaller, but according to Pontiac, they were 72 cc chamber. These are supposed to be some of the best flowing D-port. That's why they call them D-port Pontiac heads. Allegedly, they had the best intake ports out of all of them. These are your RAM AIR 1 heads. They were factory rated at 360 horse. But they had like a 10 pound per horsepower rule unofficially. So they'd have the same fucking engine in a Firebird, and they'd call it a 325 horse, because the Firebird weighed about 3250, and the GTO they call it a 360 horse because it weighed about 3600 pounds. But judging by what they ran, some of them numbers didn't quite add up. These old fucking GTOs and Firebirds back in this era, they were fast. They were some of the fastest stock muscle cars you could buy at the time. And these RAM AIR 400s were definitely a force to be reckoned with. Pontiac engines are different. I always liked them. First engine I ever built was a Pontiac. I always thought they were cool. Old Trans Ams and GTOs and shit. Hell, I got a 63 Super Duty 421 Catalina tucked away now. I'm probably going to use these heads. I'm going to build a 400 with these heads. Build it 70s style. I got a big Super Victor intake and shit I was going to use on it, but it'd be kind of out of place. So I have a couple of torquers. One of them brand new, the other one's a little rougher, but I'll probably use a Edelbrock torquer intake on it and a 850 double pumper. Throw a big roller cam in it. And the specs will come out. It'll be about 11-to-1, a little bit over 11-to-1 compression with a 6cc valve relief, Icon pistons. And then I'm going to have to take a little off these decks. So it'll probably take about 24 thousandths off. They'll be down about 68 cc chambers. And I'm going to buy a new set of Ferrea valves. Bowl port them. 5-angle valve job. And all that good shit. But I ain't going to go hog wild on them. These are pretty rare heads. Hate to fuck them up. Been looking for a pair of these for years. Finally came across a set. They still got that old look about them too. Pontiac heads. Look at them like from this angle. Got all these bosses and shit for brackets and shit to bolt on them. The old 670s here don't have none of that. These look more like a 389 head, really. They changed the valve angle also this year. So this was the first year of the quote-unquote modern Pontiac head. The 389 had a different valve angle than the 400 did. And the 400 had bigger valves and shit. But the good ones did anyway. Your typical bullshit had like a 196 and a 166 valve, and your high performance had a 211 177 valves. But they still make anything you need for these fucking engines. A lot of people love them, and they definitely can run. I used to mess with them a lot back in the day. I've had a few of them haul serious ass. I had a 67 Firebird, which I've had a bunch of Pontiacs actually. Long list of them. Shit, when I was younger, I'd fucking buy a car every month. Whether I needed it or not. Shit was... Old cars were everywhere. They were cheap. Somebody have an old Pontiac sitting in their backyard. Pick it up for a couple of $100 and have you a gold mine in that thing. They were built well. Seemed like the old Firebirds were built just a little better than the old Camaros. They were like a little higher class or something. Like your Camaro is your working man's pony car. Your Trans Am was more upscale. Your Firebird, which Trans Am came out in '69. My favorites are the 67, 68 Firebirds and the 68, 69 GTOs, and of course 63 Catalina Super Duty 421. It's probably my all-time favorite Pontiac ever built. Just happen to have one. It needs a full restoration, but I ain't worried about all that right now. I just want to get the fucking thing running. It's 430 gear, Borg Warner T10 4-speed. I'm gonna build me an old school Pontiac drag racing engine for it. Go run it. After I get it all mechanically sound and running the way I want it to, then I might start trying to make the body look a little better. But performance first, appearance later. It's always been my thing. Always said I can't see the outside of the car when I'm in the fucking driver's seat. It's all about the experience, the ride, That adrenaline rush. You stand on it and it pins your ass to the seat. The noise, the smell, nothing like it. I'm digging these old fuckers here. They got pretty decent intake runners on them. Pontiacs. Like I said, they allegedly were the highest flowing D-port Pontiac heads they made. There's the date. J36. So that's October 30th, 66. When them heads were cast. Old crane. Yeah, these fucking rocker arms probably don't have 500 miles on them since they were new. And they're 45 years old. So I'll probably clean them up and use them again. Put them back into service. I don't know what kind of springs them are, but these heads have aftermarket valves in them of some sort. Wouldn't begin to know what brand, but they have a taller install height than typical Pontiac. Regular Pontiac head has like a 1.6 installed height. And these are like 1.8. That's what the RAM AIR 4s were. They were like 200 longer valves. So I think these heads, somebody put some RAM AIR 4 valves in them somewhere in their life. They've been around. Old school racing shit, Pontiac. These are hard to find. Hard to find. We got the old chrome Pontiac Moroso valve covers too. Been sitting around for fucking ever. I'm building two 400s, so I'll probably put these chrome ones on one of them and put the gold ones on the other. Put these gold ones on the Catalina. This engine was painted black. I'm going to paint it back the light blue that the 421 that originally came in the car was like a baby blue, so that's what color I'm going to paint the engine. Make it kind of look like it came there. And then the other Pontiac engine, I'm going to paint it the later metallic blue, like the later, what color these heads were originally. The metallic Pontiac blue. This color right here, actually, is what this, I painted this small block Chevy Pontiac metallic blue. But these are going with the light blue just to be more period correct for the car they're going in. But I thought they were pretty cool. Thought somebody out there might be interested in seeing some old-timey hot rod Pontiac parts. But they had them fucking chambers. That was the only year they were made that way. And later on in '67 they Made them into the open chamber style. Pontiac, they used flat top pistons in all their engines, and then they just juggle the compression with the chamber size of the heads. So the good high performance shit had typically like a 72cc chamber, and then some of them 70s 8-to-1 compression 455s and shit had like 120cc. Big bastards. Small valves, huge chambers don't make for a good engine. But these old iron heads here, they will make some power. These are pretty damn good too. These are gonna go on the other unit I'm working on. They're 1968 16 heads. Come off a 390 horse 428 HO. There's that damn double pumper put together last night. Kind of cramped in here. Gotta get some of these fucking engines installed. Got much room left. And I gotta go pick up my fucking Pontiac engines one day. It's gonna be a task I'm not looking forward to. Them fucking things are heavy as hell. But they're out of my other garage, rusting away. I have a few stashed away. I'm gonna put these heads on a 67 400. And then put the 16 heads. I have a 71 400 and a 71 455 also in stock. I'm probably gonna go with the 400. Put an aftermarket crank in it and shit. You can get these 400s out to 495 cubic inch pretty easy. Hell, they sell rotating assemblies. Like they're about $2,000 or so. Turn it into a 495. But this one ain't. I'm just gonna bore it 30 over. Keep a stock stroke crank in it. Gonna run some 4340 H-beam rods and good pistons and shit. Ross pistons or something. Ain't decided yet. Icon probably is the ones I'm looking at. But Ross for the other. Can't just focus on one fucking engine. I gotta build a slew of them, it seems. Have attention deficit disorder. Makes it hard for me to explain this shit to people. A lot of times I just figure everybody knows what I know, so I just talk like I'm talking to somebody who's on the same page. This kind of shit gets me excited though. Rare old high performance Pontiac shit. Old school as it gets. There they are, 670s.